The Haunted Texas series is taking over Talk About the Hill Country. We will be here every weekday morning from October 21st to October 31st. If you miss a story, hear it on Halloween night starting at 6 p.m. The broadcast is being carried on KNAF AM 910 and KFAN 107.9 Texas Rebel Radio. Our sponsor is the Mason County Historical Society. These eerie, sometimes gory, and always fascinating haunted Texas tales are being brought to us by historians and educators from the Texas Historical Commission, the Texian Blog, and the Texas Center at Schreiner University. These Texas tales are true to life and death, so listener discretion is advised. Now settle back and enjoy HC Broadcasting's presentation of Haunted Texas.
I met Ray Tice through a friend of a friend, and we quickly learned that we both shared a love of Texas folklore, especially ghost stories. He's been collecting them for a while, like I have, and he's even been to some of the spots, or haunts, to see if he could scare some ghosts up. He's been generous enough to pick out a few spooky yarns from his own collection and share them with me. He's a local boy to the Fredericksburg and Llano areas, so the tales he sent me are set in this region for some nice local flavor. Here's one of those stories. Now, sit back and close your eyes, unless you're driving, and listen to the haunts of Maxon Station. On March 6, 1902, at roughly 2:45 in the morning, a passenger train along the Galveston, Harrisburg, and San Antonio Railway came streaming too sharply around a bend and soared off the tracks. The coaches were at capacity with westbound settlers and families, most of whom were asleep when the accident occurred. Horrifically, the passenger cars not only overturned, but were engulfed in a raging inferno. The nearest town was 3 miles away, and by the time any help arrived, most of the train had been destroyed. An estimated 50 people were killed that morning, and among these numbers were many women and children. The wreck at Maxon Station is considered one of the most tragic derailments in American history. Making the incident even more sorrowful, though, the tragedy is almost entirely forgotten. At the site of the crash, there's nothing to tell its story or recognize those who were killed. At the site of the crash, there is nothing there to tell the story and recognize those who were killed. But many in Sanderson, 9 miles east, claim the ghosts of the victims, ensure that their memory remains. Former Brewster County Sheriff's Deputy Jake Hale is a right-minded and sensible individual whose years of law enforcement have made him into a character of some renown. Most who know Jake in real life would never dare question the man, at least not while he's in their presence. Jake's story takes place on September 21st, 1998, while he was on a night shift. Still a newcomer in Brewster County at that time, he was not familiar with the 1902 train wreck at Maxon Station. Most of his colleagues continually referred to a portion of present-day US 90 that passes near the site of the derailment as the Ghost Road. Jake was about to find out why. On the night of September 21st, 1998, a supervisor instructed Jake to maintain a more frequent patrol of an area about 9 miles west of Sanderson. The reason being, as Jake relates, was due to a Border Patrol agent saying that there was supposed to be a large number of illegal immigrants passing through that vicinity. Jake passed through the area at least 3 times prior to midnight and had not seen anything but wildlife. At around 11 p.m., as he was again driving through, Jake noticed a figure standing just off the shoulder of the road in a field. I could tell by its build that it was a woman, but what caught my eye was that she was wearing a dress. I was going too fast on this first sighting of her, so I had to slow down enough to make a U-turn to get back and look again. Jake turned around, but when he got back to the site, the figure in the field was gone. I pulled off the road and looked for her. It was dark that evening because of a new moon, and I didn't see anything in that field or around it where she could have hidden so quickly. I thought maybe it was just a trick of the headlights or something. I needed to get back to Sanderson to fill up my patrol car, so after a few minutes, I headed out. As he was filling up his gas tank, Jake couldn't stop himself from thinking about that strangely dressed woman. She was so oddly out of place. And where in the world could she have gone that quickly? There were no woods in the vicinity, nothing but low-lying bushes that were probably infested with rattlesnakes. He couldn't fathom how quickly she'd vanished. Jake couldn't get it out of his mind. He went back out to investigate once again. I had this sense that maybe I overlooked something where that woman could hide. It was about midnight, or maybe a little after, when I got back. Pulled off the shoulder of the road again and looked around with my flashlight. Sure enough, I was right. There wasn't anything in that field but weeds and the old railroad tracks. As Deputy Jake Hale shined his light around, though, he thought he saw movement in his periphery. I saw a shadow move quickly on my right. I turned the flashlight towards it, but I found nothing. There was an 18-wheeler coming right around the bend, and its high beams passed over the vicinity where I thought I saw that shadow move. It illuminated that whole field, but still, it was just an empty old field. There was something quite off-putting about the whole situation. Jake did not feel good about it, and he was not a man with an overactive imagination. I'm not a guy that sees stuff that ain't there. After seeing that second shadow, I knew there had to be an explanation. There had to have been someone messing with me or trying to get by me. So I got back in the truck and pulled out my thermal camera to get a look around. I wish I hadn't now. A thermal imaging camera is a tool that is frequently used by paranormal enthusiasts, as well as members of law enforcement and the military. The one Jake had in his truck could detect cold and warm signatures and present a clear picture of the landscape as well. Through the camera lens, I saw some weird stuff out in that field. There were people along the railroad tracks. I could discern their body shapes. I could tell that some were women, some were men. There were even a couple of kids. The oddest part was that their bodies weren't warm. The thermal showed them as being cold. When I'd shine my flashlight in their direction, though, wasn't anything there at all. And that was more than Deputy Jake Hale could take. He scrambled back to his truck and sped away without even realizing he hadn't turned his headlights on yet. When he described the incident to his colleagues at the end of his shift that morning, they laughed, but finally explained why that segment of highway was nicknamed the Ghost Road. Deputy Jake Hale is now retired and living happily in Cristoval, Texas. In April 2014, Ray Tice had the privilege of meeting Jake after a mutual friend introduced the two. Tice asked Jake if he had ever had any other encounters along Ghost Road. Oh yeah, I've seen plenty of stuff on that road. Even during the daytime. I'd say the spookiest thing I ever saw out there was a woman in an old-timey looking dress. It was almost dark, but with just enough remaining sunlight to see her clearly by. She was just standing still, like a statue in a bonnet, looking towards where the moon was coming up. I got out my binoculars to get a better look at her. Parts of her sleeve were blackened, like it'd been burnt. The side of her face looked even worse. as if her skin had been on fire. She must have sensed me because she turned her head towards me and disappeared. I was worried she'd suddenly reappear in my front seat or something, so I hopped back in the truck and jetted the hell out of there. In researching this story, Tice wasn't able to determine if the original 1902 railway route had been altered by the present rail line. However, Maxon Station is still labeled on current conductor maps of the area. Perhaps modern railroad employees have witnessed strange things near that tragic site as well. Folks in Sanderson certainly have, and they just nod their heads knowingly when a motorist pulls in off Highway 90 to gas up, obviously shaken and a little pale, looking as if they had seen a ghost. Or ghosts. Pleasant dreams.
Attention Hill Country residents! Join the Mason County Historical Society for our annual meeting on November 22nd at 6 p.m. in the Stribley Room of the Mason Library. This year, we're thrilled to welcome geologist Brian Hunt from UT Austin, who'll take us on a fascinating journey through the geology of Mason County. Discover how our landscape evolved from ancient seas to the era of dinosaurs and even mammoths. Bring your rock samples for identification and enjoy refreshments as we delve into our local history together. Everyone's welcome, no membership required. For more information, visit us on Facebook or at masonmuseums.org. Let's find out together what's under our feet. Don't miss this enriching experience with your community. This has been a special presentation by HC Broadcasting, our Haunted Texas series for the Halloween season. First, thank you to our presenters, Ben Freiberg of the Texian Blog and the Texas Center at Schreiner University, and Shannon Smith of the Texas Historical Commission and Fort Martin Scott. A huge shout out to our sponsor, the Mason County Historical Society. If you love local Texas history, be sure to participate in the Mason County Historical Society's annual meeting on November 22nd at 6. It'll be held at the Stribling Room in the Mason County Library. Find out what's under your feet, geologically speaking. Check out their website at masonsmuseum.org. Want to get on the regular calendar for Talk About the Hill Country? Call 830-997-2197, email knafnews@gmail.com, mail to P.O. Box 311 in Fredericksburg, or stop by the studio at 304 East San Antonio Street. Hope you enjoyed your Haunted Texas.